In the old days of theater, there was a device used to end plays that the writers couldn't figure out how to end. It was called Deus Ex Machina, God from a machine. And what it really meant, in a way, was there was a machine that lowered down this vision of God sitting there, having watched over us, and coming down onto the stage, into the world, to bestow blessings and nourishment and fix everything that had gone wrong in the play. The writer of the play didn't have to figure out how to end it. He just had the appearance of God, and God went, done. Everything was fine. Life was beautiful. And people walked out of the theater going, God will take care of everything. It's not good theater. Writers over the years have tried to figure out how not to do that. The idea is to plant something in the beginning of a play or a movie or a story that gets you very involved in a character, meaning either you really like them or you really don't like them, but you're engaged by them in some powerful way. Then there's this thing called the rooting interest, meaning that you want them to have an outcome that they want or deserve from their life, and that you really want them to get their just desserts or to find happiness and joy and beauty in their life. And you make it really hard. The writer's job is make it hard. And there's something known as page 19. Those of you who've tried to show me your scripts, I always tell you I'll read up to page 19. If at that point I don't like what I'm reading, I'm done, I won't read any further. But page 19 is the plot twist. The plot twist is when you go, oh my God. And then you're like sucked in. You're like, this is it. And I've got to find out what happens to this character. And if you're really engaged by the character, in love with them or in despicable hatred of them, you are really locked in. And then you wait for all the problems to arise from that problem incident on page 19, something that destabilized everything. And you watch, and as you get closer and closer to the end, it gets worse and worse, especially in the third act. There's right near the end where you're just hoping this thing will finally work out, and then it doesn't. It's the worst of the worst. And then the character is forced to go very deep inside into something, into action, into awareness, into strength they never knew they had, into some transformative thing that makes them take action in a way they never knew they could do. It's like Luke when he takes off the helmet in Star Wars and decides to fly through to the deal in the Death Star, to blow up the Death Star with no navigational system left. Just him, just this knowing. And everyone in the audience is going, oh my God, could that work? Could he give up everything in the world, all of the guidance systems, all of the technology, everything that humanity and life and technology had ever given him, and he could put it aside and follow something else, intuitively, interiorly. And he does. And the next thing you know, at the right moment, he fires it off. Death Star explodes, world is saved, humanity continues. And he did it not by using all of the effects of the world around him, but he used something really profoundly different. Deep inside, he found, whatever you want to call it, the God principle, the knowing, the simplicity, the intuition, to know what to do, and he did it. We sort of watched him train through the whole movie to learn how to do all these different things, sometimes well, sometimes not well. But we knew that he was sincere. He was working his ass off. He had a lot to work through. The world was not easy, complicated. The navigational system sometimes was better than other times. He didn't know he was falling in love with his sister. He didn't know who his father was. He had all these kinds of issues. And in a way, he's like all of us. We all have issues. We all have drama in our lives, and it only gets more complicated as we get toward the end. The stakes are higher, the problems are greater, and if at that moment the sky just opened up and God came through and said, okay, done, I'm going to tell you, you would not like that movie. You might be grateful that something came through and took care of everything, but it's not a good movie. It's not a good story. It's not the story you want to live. The story you want to live is to let go of everything that tells you what to do externally, and you find this thing inside that knows what to do. And it doesn't even have your own mind to tell you. It just has this letting go and this directive that comes from deep inside that goes, no. And it has to be now. It can't be a second later, and it can't be a second before. It has to be now. And when you arrive at now, is that different than Deus Ex Machina? Kind of no. It's still God wheeling down from some machinery, coming in and telling you, this is not a voice. And it's part of you that has trained over the course of however many years to hear that voice and pay attention and effectuate the very thing it's telling you to do. That's the ride we're on. We're all in a lifetime. Some of us are worth rooting for more than others. And you can tell the people not worth rooting for. They're everywhere. You're kind of dismissive, as they are. They're not engaged in their own life very well. There's not a lot of stakes. All they're trying to do is win a hand at canasta. All they're trying to do is make it through the next television show. Just take another breath and, figure out what's for dinner. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not being judgmental, but there are lives that are very deeply lived. They have a lot of stakes for you to get through them, to arrive at a place of contentment, to arrive at a place of achievement, to arrive at a place of awareness. This is an extraordinary thing. You don't meet a lot of people living that life. It's why we go to movies, or we used to, or watch these long television shows, because we hope to find somebody who's doing that, and maybe even learn a little bit how we can become that person. But it has to start early in your life. There has to be something in your life that starts to go, I want something from this. I need something from this journey. I need to arrive at something. And some people hold on to that with great fervor, and other people, oh well. And then you see people trying to get through life, trying to navigate without a navigational system. That's really tricky. If you try to navigate a life full of upheaval and drama and instinct and people throwing things at you or liking you or not liking you and all the things that come into a human life, and you're trying to figure out, how do I do this? How do I get through the next moment? What's guiding you? Everyone has different voices guiding them. Some voices are parental, grandparental. Some voices are teacherly. Some are your best friends, or some are your worst friends. Some of the things that guide you are people who put you down all the time. Everyone has different guides in a way in their life, and they are such bad navigational systems that they don't get you anywhere except into one confused moment after another, one bad choice after another. And after a while, your life is a tangle of bad choices, and there is no way out other than Deus Ex Machina. And you have to rely on that. You have to rely on something will come through at the end, awful as it may be in storytelling, but it will save you from your horrible life. Is there a truth to that? It's hard to give that answer. I will say, as a playwright or as a writer, there is a belief system that every life is worthwhile, and that at some point, maybe not in the actual physiological manifestation of your life, but maybe as you're leaving your life, in what the Tibetans call the bardo state, as you're unraveling all of the mistakes and all the stuff you're seeing as, oh my God, how did I do that? And oh, that was terrible. As you're letting go of all of that, you become lighter and lighter and lighter. And maybe as you're entering the final stages of the death process, light comes through in a Deus Ex Machina way, and you're free. It's like, oh, and you are lifted up into your own being, your own soul, God's presence. But that takes the afterlife, or the journey into the afterlife, for that to take place. What do you do about this time? Where you are, materially, physically, emotionally, mentally, you're here. You're in this, and you are weaving together this life, probably without the best navigational system. You've probably all made choices here that you go, wow, those were not the right choices. What do I do? It's gotten very locked in, it's very tight. What you do as a writer, what you do as a human being at this moment in time, is you start the process the best you can of unraveling the knot that you are. Some of it involves going back into the moment where the knot got created with another person, let's say, if they're still there, and saying, I'm sorry, I created this problem, or I'm sorry that this problem exists. I hope there's a way we can find a way out of it. Some people will allow that to happen, and that knot will start to unravel. Some people will not even let you in the door. But the instinct to do that, just the instinct to finally realize the knot that you've tied, the problem you've created, allows you to own it and go, okay, that okayness, which is not saying, yes, that was great, it's going, okay, allows a certain stillness that helps you have a presence of how to live out each moment. The mere fact of looking for forgiveness, the mere fact of asking to undo the problem, allows you to start to feel the way to live. And what it begins to bring you is, from now on, rather than create those tensions with people, find a way to be a nice person, a good guy, a kind person. And that keeps you from having those knots sort of created. And what takes place is the newness of your generosity of being makes it easier to move forward more gently and simply, and also to look back at yourself and finally forgive yourself for all the unknowing that navigated you through your life. Most of us don't have access to the navigational system. On the other hand, if somewhere along the way you were lucky enough to be told, shut up, be quiet, go inside, feel, not just think, feel your way into the right move, the right thing, to do the right thing before you actually do it. If you have that kind of a system, and you can start to go in, which is what the whole value and purpose of meditative life is about, you start to go inside and you discover, as I talk about weekly, a GPS. It's sitting right inside you. There are shallower versions of it, and there are deeper versions of it. The shallow versions are mental and emotional and sort of charge forward. The deeper versions are open-minded and clear-headed, open-hearted, quiet and deeply committed to something that you don't understand. And if these align and get sort of interlinked with each other, you have this incredible awareness. And if you really surrender to that awareness, it will navigate you through life, not only forward, but also in a way it will look backward. And it will help you unravel all the stuff that's been raveled. And you will start to clean up the mess that is your life before you leave this world. And you all know where that goes to. You all know the people involved in those processes or the situations. Some will be alive, some will not be alive. It doesn't mean you can't sit with them. You can sit with the live ones and actually talk if they'll listen. The dead ones, you can just sit quietly and say, I am so sorry that I messed up. And you will find something really interesting. The depth of that being sorry goes deep. It goes deep in a way that allows you to speak to the soul of a person no longer here. And in the real world, in the manifested world, you can go right to that person directly, and you can actually go, I'm sorry, and I want to fix this. If there are people who need your love that you have not been able to give that love to, this directive, this GPS in you, will tell you exactly how to do it. It will go turn left, turn right, make this phone call, send this letter, go visit this person, drop in unannounced. It will tell you what to do. And you will go and you will fix your life. You will fix the circumstances of your life, and you will start to become a really good movie, a really good story. And everybody will go, oh, wow, look what they just did, wow. And you'll go, yeah, I can do that too. It's the best teaching available is a person living their life well. And you will start to discover that this newfound directive, honesty, clarity, gives you the power of changing and redirecting and renavigating who you are and who you have been. You will not need the Deus Ex Machina factor to come in and fix everything. You are that. You can come in right now and figure it out. Go deep enough inside, push those buttons, they open like that. And you see so clearly, oh, one, I messed up. Two, I can fix it. And you actually go and do it. You actually go into the world and you make it right. If you can do that before you leave this world, you arrive at this exquisite place of acceptance, accepting life as it is. And you know, because you've lived long enough, that there are days where the waters are completely still and it is an easy sail. And then you also know that there are days where the water starts to become rougher than you've ever even imagined it could. And you're in rough times and you don't know how to get from A to B because the seas are so chaotic. And that's when you really need the GPS. If you're relying on your own mind and your own simple map system, oh my God, I'm here and here, can I go there? That's really terrible. I mean, you can do that, but you can also go inside and it will say, push this button and that map will appear. Do this and that will happen. Find your way and you will have the guidance system of your own inner being and the outer all working simultaneously. And if the outer disappears, which can happen, if electronics go off, the map flies out the window, all you got is this intuitive, deep self that is aware and knows, and you will go, this is all I got. This is all I have. And it's very quiet, and you know you got to get quiet in order to listen to it, even in the middle of terribly disruptive seas or climatological, political, economical chaos. You will find, okay, I have to go here. You may not know what to do. You may not have a clear mind in terms of knowing how to proceed, but you will have this thing that says, do this, or don't do that. Sit still, act now, go forward, take a step back. You will have this knowing in yourself that you can really trust. And trust is built over time, but I'm telling you, you need to look into that system Because if you don't have that system, you're crashing against the rocks and you're drowning. Most people crash against the rocks and drown. Or they look for Deus Ex Machina to come at the end. And there they are crashing and the ship is falling apart and they're drowning and they can't get a breath of air and they're scared to death and everything is horrible and they're going to have one more breath. Is the Deus Ex Machina come at that moment? Maybe. Maybe. We'll find out. But like I say, in good theater, that's not the answer. Good theater is resolution of the psyche. You make the final awareness. You go, okay. You find that moment of profound acceptance, transformative yes, that makes everything in your life align and gives it all purpose and direction and clarity. And we, as the audience watching your story, go, wow, that was amazing. It's like the person who's lived a terrible life and walks into the execution chamber. And instead of seeing this chaos and terror and all the stuff you watched, he suddenly gets it all together and goes, yeah, yeah. You feel something for that person. You feel they have accepted totality, they have accepted their karma, they have accepted their being, and they have gone into this finality of their life with a kind of grace. That's great storytelling. That's the kind of stuff we want to watch. If they go into, not me, I never did it, I got it all there, done. You know, it's too late to turn off the movie, really. You just watched the whole thing. It's like total disappointment. What a waste of 80 years or 20 years or whatever it was. And yet many, many lives end that way. Or they end in these horrible kind of, I don't know, sudden accidents or sudden diseases. And it's like the pulling of a plug. I describe it on a TV show. You know, you've had 7 episodes and nobody's watching it. Pull the plug. It's canceled. Show canceled. You don't want that kind of life. You want that life that has a great narrative, that has an adding up, that has a kind of taking off the helmet and going, following the force. Follow the force. Follow the force. This is what we're looking for. We're all looking for it, to live that life. Again, most lives, and I've now been around a long time, so I'm getting to see lives in the 3rd act of how they're ending. And I'm going, oof, well, I thought that was going to be better. That looked like that was going in a much better direction than it went. So many lives are just kind of going, eh. And it's really hard. It's sad because you want this kind of, you want a good ending. Not necessarily a happy ending, although that's nice, but a good ending. You want it to complete itself in a way. And you want the Deus Ex Machina to have come early in the game, really, and to have informed a life and said, go this way, go that way, and listen to it as deeply as you can. And then when the waves are just crashing on the shore and the worst of the worst is happening, this is usually right about the end of your life. You take off all of your knowledge, you take off all of the stuff that has protected you before, all of the stuff you think is right, and you listen to this deep voice. You pay attention to the force, and you finish the final stuff of your life with this deep yes, to something beyond you. And in a way, that is Deus Ex Machina. That is God arriving in your life, higher consciousness, enlightenment, the beauty of being suddenly flowering at the moment you need it most. And if you've lived your life accordingly, it will arrive. And it will be a great story. And you will have had a great life. And it will end on a note that makes you and everyone who is observant of it and the universe itself go, wow. And that's kind of, I think, something we would all like. I don't know all that many people who get there, but it's doable. And now is the time. And I say that because it's getting chaotic. The world around us is definitely changing in ways that we have not ever dealt with. all of us of a certain age, and that's pretty much everybody listening in the room here, we're of a certain age where we've had a very gentle ride. And now the chaos is coming. When the chaos is coming, what do? Well, I can tell you what I do. I get scared to death. I go, oh my God. And I'm looking at everything and going, this is terrifying. And I look at it for myself a little bit, but I go, well, you're not going to be around that long, so it's not, you're not going to have to deal with the worst of it. But then I sit with my grandchildren, and my grandchildren were sleeping over the other night. And I sat and spoke with them. And I'm doing this very simple thing with them, which is presenting them with the teaching that I share with you without telling them it's a teaching. I talk about the journey going in. I say, you have an inner life as well as an outer life. And I give kind of a very quiet tutorial. But I talk about literally the chakras and give them a name, and they know about the name. And I tell them what it's like when you go inside and feel them. And they're very, very open to that idea. Their dad, who's very, I call him my son Josh, is very trusting of the universe. He's shown these kids the Matrix, which I didn't see till I was in my 50s, I don't think. And it was very, I thought, my God, what a metaphor for so much of what's happening. They're watching it at 7 years old and 10 years old, but it's become a wonderful metaphor for them. And my 7-year-old grandson talks about this as the Matrix, and he asks questions about who are we, why are we here, what is all this? And it's really astounding, because they're not like kids I knew when I was little. They didn't ask those questions. And my granddaughter also is very tied in, but she expressed to me this enormous fear of the coming chaos, especially the climate change, at 10 years old. And I went, wow. Now, I didn't want to tell her how afraid I am of climate change, because I'm supposed to be above all that. But in truth, my fear of climate change has everything to do with her and her brother and all the kids her age who are going to witness this upheaval in ways that I don't. And I figure the most I can do right now is give them this teaching and let them know there is a place they can go, and that they will be challenged by it in the end. I may not be around to give them a real direct experience of this in the way Rudy gave it to me, because you're not supposed to even teach it to anybody under the age of 18, but I can give them enough forewarning that in a time of great upheaval, when the waves are all over the place, you've got to have that navigational system working. And my whole comfort zone, to the degree that it can get comfortable at all, is knowing that I can plant seeds now of everything I'm talking to you guys about in these little kids. And I can do it in a way that they will be, I hope, strong enough and capable enough to help others navigate. How you navigate, the idea of navigation implies getting somewhere. In many ways, it's about staying afloat. Navigation is keeping the ship afloat. If I can give them the guidance system for that as best they can, they will stay afloat. There's also an element at some point where the ship crashes against the shore and none of the navigation systems work. The only one that's left is down here, and here, and down here. And you have this navigation system as the waves are crashing in over you, the inevitable is in front of you, and you have to go at that moment, and you have to trust that the thing that guided you through the shoals and the difficulties and the rocks of human existence will continue in the next moment of your life. That's what we're all learning right now. We are all here learning not just to get through life, but to move beyond life. And if I can teach that to my grandchildren, and if I can teach that to you, and more problematically, if I can teach it to myself, we will all be in better space. We will find a way to ride this out. Whatever comes, I am not prepared for Deus Ex Machina to come through and go, okay, everything's fine, the world's going to be fine, don't worry about it, just go about your business. I am not in that place. I am in the place of trust the force, Luke, trust the force. And I'm hoping I can teach that as long as I can to you and to myself. And I put myself in that grouping because I get thrown by the level of chaos that I see, and because I get tested by it, and I have to go to my navigational system every day, literally every day. And I am so grateful that I have 50 some years of practice of sitting down and going, that I'm able to go to bed at night trusting at all is an amazing achievement. We all need to get there. We all need to get there. We have nowhere else to go. The gift of this practice, the gift of any meditative practice, is to find the harmony, the balance, and the guidance to get through the next 24 hours. It's an extraordinary thing. It's truly extraordinary. We are all lucky to be in touch with it. I think it's our job to share it with other people, to bring it into their attention, to get our lives working in enough of a way that we can become a beacon, if you will, of people coming to feel the truth of what we have to share. We don't have to be brilliant. We don't have to be anything but human, but we have to be available to the people around us, clear out the cobwebs, make it a smooth, easy sharing between you and the other, and have a simple life where the Deus Ex Machina of the universe will arise through you. You will be the saving grace for others. That's what we're looking for. Learn how to become that. Be real, be human, be honest, be open, be available, and be kind and be good and be nice and be there for others. There you go. That's the teaching. And we're all in it. We're all living out our story. Many of us in this room and elsewhere are coming toward the end of the story. Some of us have a better version of the story than others, but trust me, this is, again, I'm quoting Jerry Zucker, who directed Ghost, and he said, and I've said this before, but it's really important, all stories have two halves, everything up to the end and the end. If everything up to the end works and the ending doesn't, half of your story doesn't work. If your movie or your story ends well, half of it was good. If it ends well and plays well, you got a hit. Got a great story. Try to get your ending to work. Try to get the 50% of your ending to be in play. And that's what we're working on. And then everything else can line up beforehand, and you have this wonderful, wonderful, huge, big story to be celebrated by those who remember you, who knew you, and the universe that observed your life. The end. Is that 50%? I don't know. That's it, guys. You know, I will tell you, it's hard to confess on a regular basis how human I feel, and fearful and scared and all that other stuff about the world. On the other hand, almost every day, something comes and takes my hand and says, you're okay. You're okay. Not always, almost every day. And I have a wife who has nothing but optimism in viewing the world. That challenges me, but I think it's a wonderful, wonderful choice. And I hope, you know, we can all be optimistic and we can all live according to this uplifting, loving energy that has brought us into this place. So, any questions? Those of you in the in the outer realms of computer land, or anybody here in the room?
When you talk in the other room for the introduction to the class, you talked about the Shakti rising. Do you feel something rising from? Because I mean, in all the years of working with Rudy, I never connected with any
Shakti,
or feeling of that.
for me, it's not dramatic anymore. It used to be. Shakti rising, you know, what can I say, that the idea of Shakti rising is, it's partly metaphoric, but it's also real. And I described it in the room. When I first sat with Rudy,
Yeah.
the Shakti would rise and I would fall off the chair, literally, right on the floor. And then I decided to sit on the floor. And I would have Shakti rise right up, shooting right out of me. And at one point, it was really interesting. Muktananda was teaching, and he said, "Stop that." Which was like, why? You know, he did not like that I had Shakti rising like that. And I was a little bit thrown by that and why he chose me to say that to, but I had a very dramatic response to Shakti. I have my Shakti now, it's mostly that. It's kind of a movement of my head. And that is a kind of signal to me of the rising of Shakti. But it's become a circle or become a flow of energy. And basically how I feel it now is an alignment between all of my chakras coming together, working their way in alignment and connecting together. And I feel the whole body as part and parcel of this energetic system. And I feel this opening in my head that just connects me to something way, way beyond normal daily worldly experience. It does open because this energy rises. It's an uprising energy. It's uplifting. It's freeing. And so I do experience that. But I don't experience it anymore as falling off a chair or sudden shocks. And I'm grateful I did at one point, because that's what locked me in with Rudy. Because when he looked at me and I fell over, I went, "Oh, something's happening." You know, it was kind of huge. But now it's an alignment, and that alignment is really important. I don't know if I'm not Rudy, and Rudy's energy was different than mine. My energy is very heart-centered. It has a kind of gentility to it, which I think is meaningful and worthy, but it's who I am. Rudy was, he was pure power. And that pure power was amazing. If Rudy was still here, I would recommend every one of you, including me, go sit with him. That would be a choice I'd make. But in the end, it's not to end with power. I think it is to end with gentility. And I think you don't have to find a way of being dramatic with it. I think you just need to find a way to be with it at any level you can. And if you can open inside, and if you can feel this movement, you will feel, I guess the word is blessed or graced by it. And you will know it's touching your life. If it can become huge and dynamic, great. You know, I don't attract those people. I don't know even where they are at this point, but I do know that Shakti is there, and it can be gentle and inviting rather than cutting through. So,
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thank you guys for coming. Next week is California. The week after will be a few days post Thanksgiving. So if I don't talk to you before that, I wish you all a wonderful holiday, celebrating reasons to be thankful. And I look forward to seeing you, those of you who are present in New York, here in the house. We'll probably still have some leftovers. You can bring your leftovers, and we'll all have a Sunday Thanksgiving. And I really, I love you all, and I really wish you a great holiday period, and enjoy the autumnal life we're all suddenly entering into. Love you all. Take good care.